Welcome everyone to the Bristol County Sheriff's Office Correctional Officer Virtual Job Fair. My name is Captain Raposa and I'm going to be your presenter and moderator for today's event. Firstly, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to send them to me through the chat window and I'll be answering all of your questions during the live Q&A. Hopefully at the end of the presentation we'll have answered all of your questions about the hiring process, what it's like to work here at the Sheriff's Office, and also what it's like to be a correctional officer. If there's more questions, I'd be happy to answer those. However, I want to be mindful of your time and not take up too much of your day today. So once again, thank you all for being here to learn more about what it's like to be a correctional officer at the Bristol County Sheriff's Office. So some of the things we're going to be talking about today are going to be correctional officer duties, what you would actually be doing as a correctional officer, career growth opportunities, including promotional opportunities and the different career paths available to you as a correctional officer. We're going to hear from staff from our K-9 division, our investigations unit, as well as our tactical team. We're going to talk about what skills make a good correctional officer. We're going to talk about the benefits and pay, the hiring process, the training academy, and we're going to hear from some of our training academy staff. And finally, we're going to end the presentation with a live Q&A where I'm going to answer all of your questions you've already sent in to me, as well as the questions you sent to me throughout this presentation. So before we get started, I'd first like to introduce the Sheriff of Bristol County, Paul Heroux.
Hello and welcome to the Correctional Officer Virtual Job Fair for the Bristol County Sheriff's Office. My name is Paul Heroux. I'm the Sheriff of Bristol County, and we are hoping that you'll join the team. We're doing a lot of new things here at the jail, trying to increase the number of staff that we have, make for better work conditions for everybody here, and we hope that you will consider joining us. Our chief recruiter, Sam Raposa, is a good source of information to learn more about the opportunities that we have here. And even if you join here and you find out being a correctional officer isn't right for you, we still want to keep you in the family, and there's other opportunities that you might be available to take advantage of. So thank you for your interest in joining the Bristol County Sheriff's Office, and we look forward to having you join the team.
So all the positions available to you here at the Sheriff's Office will fall into one of three categories. So those support service roles are any role within our agency that helps support the mission of the Sheriff's Office, but isn't usually directly responsible for inmate care and custody. Things like our maintenance staff, IT staff, clerical and payroll staff would fall into this role. Inmate services are those who work directly with the inmate population to help provide some type of service. So an example would be our medical staff, education staff, social workers, inmate advisors. They would all fall into that role. But we're here today to talk about correctional officers, who are the backbone of our agency. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week here at our agency to maintain the safety and orderly running of our institution. So what are the duties of a correctional officer? What would you be doing every day if you decide to join our team as an officer? Well, all the duties of a correctional officer, for the most part, fall into one of four categories. Those are care, custody, control, and rehabilitation. So an example of a job duty that would fall into care would be things like inspecting living conditions. So wherever you are assigned as a correctional officer, if you're assigned to the housing units, you're inspecting those conditions to make sure they're sanitary, they're clean, and they're also safe for the inmate. That could include safety issues as well, in terms of their personal safety, gang activity, and things like that. You're also inspecting to make sure they have access to things that they need to have access to, like medical care, proper nutrition, social workers. Another thing with care that we do is we render emergency care. So correctional officers are there to render emergency care for like medical emergencies or safety issues if there were like a fight. It's up to the correctional officers to maintain order, but also render that emergency care for the inmates. So when we talk about custody, some job duties that fall under custody would be things like monitoring the inmates for safety. We're responsible for those inmates to make sure that they are as safe as possible. So when we do our tours and when we're looking around the different areas of the facility, we're looking for things to make sure the inmates are physically safe. We conduct counts, so we're accountable for every inmate. So by conducting counts, it helps ensure we know where every inmate is at any given time. And we maintain written logs. These written logs help hold on to accountability for the inmates so we know what happened to them, what they did every day, but also maintains accountability for you as an officer. So when we talk about control, most people think correctional officer duties fall under this category because it's very, very important. So one of the things we do to help maintain control and order in our facility is control the movement and access for the inmates. It's our responsibility to make sure that inmates aren't accessing certain parts of the facility, even within their own housing unit, like the janitor's closet or the officer's workstation. But also we're controlling movement to make sure they're only going to areas of the facility that they belong moving to, and that we're doing so in a controlled fashion. But also we control movement and access for our civilian staff that aren't able to access certain parts of our facility, and visitors to our facility. We're also communicating with the inmate population on a daily basis. So as a correctional officer, it's up to you to not escalate situations, but to de-escalate them. And we'll give you training on best practices to try to work on your communication skills. But we're also communicating critical information and important information to our fellow staff members, our supervisors, investigators, and our command staff to make sure we're making informed based decisions on how we run our facility. And we're generating reports. And reports help us document, again, these critical incidents and information. It helps make it easier for us to relay that information to the people that I've already talked about. Now we talk about rehabilitation. Correctional officers aren't usually running rehabilitative programs and services, but they do play a key role in that rehabilitative process. So firstly, we help maintain safety. So quite simply, no one's going to want to go to a class or a program if they're in fear for their safety. So by keeping a safe and secure facility, it helps ensure the success of these programs that our civilian staff are running. Also, we provide structure and order. Some people that come to our facility don't have a lifestyle conducive with structure and order. And so by implementing a schedule in the housing units, it helps change the inmate's mindset and approach to their daily activities. And for professionalism, that's one way that we help facilitate rehabilitation. So when the inmates are dealing with an officer every day who is enforcing the rules firmly, fairly, and consistently, but does so in a way that's polite, professional, and respectful, it helps give the inmates someone they can model their own behavior after. So let's talk about some of the areas of the facility that you might be working as a correctional officer. So the most common place you'd be working are housing units. So this is where the inmates' cells are located. It's where they spend about 90 to 95% of their day. They wake up here every morning. They go to bed here every night. It's also where they eat all of their meals. So this would be considered like the front lines of corrections. This is where officers are going to interact with the inmate population the most. It's where they're going to gain the most experience in communicating with that population of people. And also they're going to gain the most experience in terms of how corrections works. And we're going to hear from several staff members, and then they're all going to talk about how they learned a lot working in these housing units. Another area of the facility that they might be working as a correctional officer would be our kitchen area. Now, correctional officers don't make the food themselves. We have civilian staff and inmate workers who make all the meals, but it's important to have security staff assigned to the kitchen to make sure that all the tools and equipment are properly controlled, used safely, and they aren't used inappropriately by the inmates. Another area would be our intake area. So this is where every new inmate enters our facility. And it's also where every inmate who goes to court returns to our facility. So it's important to have a high level of security in this area because it's up to us as correctional officers to make sure that items that threaten the safety and security of our facility, which we call contraband, aren't being brought in by the inmates when they come into our facility. But also, this is where every new inmate comes into our facility. So this is where we are going to be screening those inmates for medical situations where they might need emergency care right away, or if there's health conditions that they have that medical staff should be aware of. We're also screening them for mental health issues, also drug and alcohol dependency if they're detoxing. And it's also where we're screening them for suicidality to make sure that if they have any risk factors for suicide, they're receiving the appropriate level of care and observation. Another area of our facility where you might be assigned as an officer are our classrooms. So we offer many different programs and services for the inmates to help with that rehabilitative process. And so our school area is one place where we have officers assigned to make sure that as these inmates all converge in this one location, that's being done safely. We also have a medical area. So we have a full complement of medical staff, from doctors to nurses, nurse practitioners, phlebotomists, opticians, dentists, and mental health clinicians. So this is where all that care, all those services are provided, is in our medical area. It's also where we triage inmates who might need a higher level of emergency medical care. And we have inmates housed here who might need more round-the-clock observation by medical staff. And the final area I want to talk about are places I call movement areas, such as our courtyard pictured here. So this is where inmates, they're not spending a lot of time, but they may be moving through transitionally, going from one area of our facility to another. So as we're monitoring their movement to and from different areas of the facility, we have staff assigned to these key areas to help make sure we're controlling that movement every step of the way. So let's talk about career growth opportunities. So we are a large facility. We have about 500 employees. So there are a lot of different opportunities to move up in rank and also different career pathways. So our facility is a paramilitary organization. That means that we use a rank structure similar to the military, like many police departments and fire departments. This allows us to disseminate information very quickly through the chain of command from the command staff all the way down to the line officer. And also, it allows us to control situations much more easily during an emergency situation because everyone's rank is very easily identifiable. So all of our ranks begin with correctional officer. This is your entry-level position. This is where if you want to proceed through that rank structure, you would have to start. And also all of the different career pathways start here as well. After that, we have sergeants. Sergeants are specialty supervisors, and they're usually assigned to specific areas or divisions, like our training division or investigations. Then we have lieutenants. Lieutenants are frontline supervisors. They are assigned an area of the facility to monitor during their shift. They assist the staff, the officers assigned in that area, and respond to emergency situations. As a new officer, this is the supervisor you're most likely to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Then we have captains. Captains are our shift commander. They are in charge and responsible for an entire shift, but they also might be assigned to a specific division, like our training division. After that, we have majors, and majors are responsible for a specific building within our agency. So we have a major assigned to the Ash Street facility, our women's building, as well as the pre-release building, and another major assigned to our main Dartmouth building. After that, the colonel is responsible for all security operations across all buildings. And finally, the superintendent is responsible for all operations in the facility. So let's talk about some of the earning potential available to you for these different roles. So I like to show these on the screen just so people have a visual to see kind of what that earning potential is as an entry-level position. Now keep in mind, these are the maxed out pay rates. So this is where you would potentially max out in these different pay scales. And a college degree is not required for any of these roles. A high school diploma or equivalency are all that we require for education-wise for these different positions. So in terms of building a career pathway, it's not required that you have a background or a degree in criminal justice to start here at the sheriff's office. In fact, most of our employees come from different career pathways as opposed to being college graduates with a degree in criminal justice. However, the sheriff wants to make sure we're showing an inherent value for that college education if you do have a degree in a relevant field of study. So to do that, we will accelerate your pay. If you have a college degree in criminal justice or other relevant field of study, we will accelerate your pay so when you graduate the academy, your pay would be that of an officer who's worked for our agency for 1 or 2 years already. Similarly, we do that for qualified military service and first responder experience. We will also accelerate your pay. But as a correctional officer, there's more opportunities available to you beyond that of just moving up through the ranks as a correctional officer. There are other divisions available. So at the sheriff's office, we have what we call a dual career ladder. So that means that you can move up in rank, but you can also move on to different career paths as a correctional officer, all of which have their own ranks within those divisions. So an example of one of these divisions is our K-9 division. Our K-9 division is very popular. We get a lot of questions about the K-9 division. So here to talk about what the K-9 unit does and his pathway to join the K-9 division is K-9 Officer Joshua Wunschel.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Officer Joshua Wunschel. I've been with the Bristol County Sheriff's Office for 12 years now. I currently am on the K-9 division. I've been on the K-9 division now for 1.5 years. I started my career here in 2012 at the Dartmouth House of Corrections. I was worked there for 5 years. I then moved over to the Ash Street Jail, and I worked there for about 5.5 years prior to my coming to K-9. I came to K-9 in 2022. I've been on the unit now. I have Canine Officer Johnny with me. He is 1.5-year-old German short-haired pointer, and he is trained in narcotics and friendly finds and tracking. Here at Bristol County, the Canine Division, we secure the outside perimeter of the Dartmouth House of Corrections and the Ash Street Jail. And by us securing the perimeters, we do rounds on all 3 shifts. We do bail checks for the inmates who are bailing out. We also do release checks for the inmates getting released. And we help all local, federal, and state authorities with anything they can use a canine for, which is apprehension work. We do narcotic work. We help search for missing children and elderly individuals who have gotten lost due to possibly dementia and other things. My day-to-day work for a canine officer is doing rounds at each jail, doing hospital checks if we have inmates at the hospital. I do bail checks from each bail time and release checks in the morning when inmates are being released. And I assist the inside of the jail if they need me to come in to do narcotic searches. And I help all local and federal authorities if they call me for narcotic search as well. So becoming a correctional officer was huge for me in becoming a canine officer, because becoming a correctional officer here just opened up doors for the pathway to become a canine officer. It opened my pathway to becoming a deputy for the Reserve State of Massachusetts. And it also helped me with learning how to talk with people, how to deal with stressful environments, how to deal with different personalities, because every person you deal with in the jail is completely different from each other. Nobody's the same. So it helped me with the fact of learning how to speak differently to different people and how to respect people and to respect their opinions with stuff. My path, like I said, I worked at Dartmouth House of Corrections for 5 years, and I learned a lot with working units. When I got the chance to go over to Ash Street Jail, I learned how to do booking and intake, which was huge for me because I learned how to do the court processings for paperwork. I learned how to deal with people straight off the street and guys who were coming in drunk, high, who were having medical issues. And it was just a different atmosphere of ways to look at the inmate population, from being just guys who were already here and guys who were coming in straight off the street. Going to Ash Street to me was one of the biggest career moves I made, because it taught me so much more of how to learn what court paper works and how to deal with individuals who weren't incarcerated at the time. They were just here for a weekend or for a night. And it was just very big learning how to speak with people, learning how to deal with the PDs when they come in. And it was a very good perspective of how to see how small of things you can get arrested for and come in for. My advice to becoming a canine officer here at the Bristol County Sheriff's Office is to first, obviously, get in the door as a correctional officer and learn how to be a correctional officer. And what I mean by that is, when you're in your units, you're listening to everything that's going on, the inmates, the officers, you guys who have time on, who have a lot of years on, and you guys who don't have a lot of time yet on. You learn from each other. You got to figure out what you like from each officer you work with, well, each supervisor you have, and understand what they want you to do, how to do it, and figure out your path and way to do it. The only way you can be a successful correctional officer in this department is to figure out your own pathway and do things your way. And what I mean by your way, listen to your supervisors and do your things your supervisors tell you, but figure out the way that works best for you. And to get on the canine unit, you want to just keep doing your job, stay out of trouble, learn as much as you possibly can, learn every aspect of the correctional officer job you can, and booking, central control, how to be a responder, how to respond to codes, and how to assist when you're in that situation, and learn from every situation you deal with.
So I want to thank Officer Wunschel for taking the time to talk to us about what the canine unit actually does, as well as his pathway. Another popular division that people have interest in when they become correctional officers is our investigations unit. So when a crime is committed in our facility, we don't call the local police to come take care of that. Our investigators are our version of a police detective. So they investigate any crime committed inside of our facility. Sometimes that involves them processing a crime scene, collecting evidence, talking to witnesses and suspects, documenting that, filing of the criminal complaint, and ultimately working with the DA's office to prosecute them. They also collect and maintain a pool of intelligence regarding different things that are happening inside the facility, again, to make sure we're making informed-based decisions on what we do. So here to talk about the investigative unit is Sergeant Glenn Tabor from Special Investigations.
Hello, my name is Glenn Tabor. I'm a sergeant at the Bristol County Sheriff's Office, currently assigned to the Special Investigations Unit. I've been here since 2007, so I've been here a little over 17 years. I started off as a correction officer where I worked second shift. at the Dartmouth House of Correction, and I worked there from 2007 to 2012. And from then I got promoted to Sergeant in Special Investigations Unit. So the Special Investigations Unit inside the Bristol County Sheriff's Office conducts all criminal investigations inside the jail. So it would be inmate assaults, there would be pre-investigations, sexual assault investigations, weapons investigations, drug investigations, pretty much anything that happens inside the jail, we're responsible for the criminal investigations inside. We also deal with intelligence inside the jail. In part of the intelligence, we also work with outside agencies, all the local police departments, including the local sheriff's offices and the Mass DOC. So we get information inside the jail that goes with information with these different jails or different police departments on crimes on the street. So we work with them to help them solve crimes. Same when we have incidents inside the jail, we have other jails reach out. Sometimes they have information that'll help us out. So it's a network where we all work together. So I was assigned to the Dartmouth House of Corrections second shift, and I worked in the different housing units where the inmates were housed. Also worked down in dispatch area, medical, and central control. All these different areas help prepare me to apply into the Special Investigations Unit. At that time, the biggest thing was your conversation with inmates and learn how to speak and talk with inmates. So when I interviewed for that process, that's what I used to move up, was my interactions with the inmates and to understand the culture and how it was. As an investigator, I've been given the opportunity to work with all the different agencies in this area. It's given me the opportunity to work with those different departments of them and to see how different investigations, different things are done on the outside, which could help on the inside, and which it had. Being a correctional officer, it was essential to me becoming a Special Investigation Unit. Everyone inside the Special Investigation Unit started off as a correctional officer. And when you're a correctional officer, you learn things like becoming part of a team. And in that team, you need to have trust. I learned that inside, trusting my partner, trusting my supervisors. And then you learn communication. That's the second one. You learn how to talk to inmates. You learn how to talk to supervisors. You learn how to talk to your partners. The third part is safety and security. You know, the basis of our job in Special Investigation Unit starts off as a correctional officer. You have to have those basics. You have to know the security. You have to know the safety, your surroundings, and all those things you learn when you're inside. You learn the gangs, you learn the weapons, learn the drugs, you learn the basis of it in. So now when I go down in my position now, Special Investigations, I can talk to them. I have that background. And the guys and girls in my unit also have that background. People that are interested in joining the Special Investigations Unit, once you are a correctional officer, I think being on the units and being around the inmates, if you're working in the housing units, watching what they do, speaking with them, volunteering to help out when it comes to the searches, being proactive, being involved in those searches, looking at the signs, looking at things that are out there. And that's how you learn. It's only keeping your eyes open to what's going on around you.
So once again, thank you to Sergeant Tabor for taking the time to discuss his role in the Special Investigations Unit. So another career pathway available to you as a correctional officer would be in our training division. So all of our trainers are correctional officers, and they are given advanced training on how to run a classroom and also how to become an instructor for the different topics that they have to teach our new officers and also our current staff every year. So our trainers are responsible for running our correctional officer academies. So they train all the new officers on what they need to know. They form that foundation of knowledge for new officers. And they're also responsible for training all of our current staff every year for their annual in-service training. So it's important for the trainers to be at the forefront for different trends in training. It's to help ensure that we are using the most current and best practices available and help make sure that our facility is run in a very modern way. Our transportation division are correctional officers who are responsible for bringing inmates all around the county or the state to different court appearances and medical appointments. Our crisis negotiations team, or hostage negotiations team, are correctional officers given advanced training from the FBI in how to resolve situations involving threats to life safety, either a hostage situation or maybe a suicidal inmate who's holding themselves hostage. And that allows us to hopefully resolve situations without any loss of life. Our honor guard are correctional staff who represent our department in a very physical way, wearing that Class A uniform. And they do so in different areas in the community, around the county, the state, even nationally sometimes. And they do this at different parades, functions, ceremonies, or funerals. And finally, our tactical team are all correctional officers given advanced training in special weapons and tactics. And they are available when lines of communication have broken down and we are unable to peacefully resolve situations, or where there's an immediate need to intervene because there's a threat to the safety and well-being of the inmates or staff, or we need to regain control of the facility. So here to talk about the tactical team, or SRT, Sheriff's Response Team, is the SRT Commander, Captain Barry Ferreira.
Hi, my name is Captain Barry Ferreira. I'm currently assigned to the 7 to 3 shift over at the Dartmouth Complex for Bristol County Sheriff's Office. Currently, I am an acting captain for the Special Management Unit. Currently, I do also serve as the commander of the Sheriff's Response Team, also known as SRT. We are compromised for men and women of 18 individuals right now. We can range from 18 to 40. It fluctuates. Currently 18. Our goal and our purpose here at the department is to de-escalate any situation that arises. When all else has failed, the Sheriff's Response Team is then activated to gain compliance as a last resort on individuals, whether it be individualized or a group of inmates. From there, we are specialized officers that receive additional training. We receive additional 40 hours aside from our in-service for correctional officer or academies and in-services. We specialize in the training of special weapons, which is our less lethal munitions. That consists of pepper ball launches, 40 millimeter launches, our Mach 9s, our OC canister that we carry. Just a little background on my pathway to where I am today and how I got here. I started in 2006 of April. I've been here for 18 years currently. From the academy, I went online. I took interest from day one into the response team. And part of that is requirement is your reputation you gain with the inmates here. So from day one, I had to pick who I want to be as an officer. From there, I became a sergeant. I want to say 8 years into my career, I was promoted to sergeant of intake services on 3 to 11 shift. I did that for a few years. I was promoted to lieutenant in our general populations. From lieutenant, I was then promoted to captain of response team, and since then been assigned to the special management unit as well. So I do a dual role as captain. Requirements to be considered for SRT for any officer interested in showing interest in becoming an SRT member. Again, SRTs, our Sheriff's Response Team, are also known as our tactical team. So you have to be a permanent officer. To become a permanent officer, you have to be in good standing with your sick time, a good work ethic, coming to work, having a good reputation with both staff and inmates. The process follows the same as an interview process for the job. Is we take all interested candidates, they perform a background check from supervisors, the staff they work with, making sure they check off all the boxes. Your medical backgrounds are done, your investigative backgrounds are done, make sure there's no ongoing investigations. So you really have to have a clean background and to be considered for any special unit here in Bristol County. So it's rewarding to come to work, gain the respect from both staff and inmates, and run an organized unit. Part of the process after interviews for any individual interested in becoming SRT member is physical fitness. It's a big important role in our team, staying fit and the ability to be able to run from one end of the facility to another, or perhaps another facility. The physical fitness standard is something that we also maintain when you're on the team. So it's not just to get on. When you're on, we also maintain it every 6 months. So starting your career here as a correctional officer with multiple opportunities from different units, me touching base on the SRT aspect of it, speaking from experience in my pathway, starting as an entry-level correctional officer. Like I said, I showed interest from day one, so I gained the most knowledge I could from multiple officers, picking the officer, little bits and pieces from other officers to pick the officer I wanted to be. Fair, firm, and consistent. De-escalation. It's not about overpowering force on individuals or that are not cooperating. Talking goes a long way. We call it verbal judo here. Our main goal is to get everybody safe home, both staff, civilian staff, and our correctional officers, as well as treating everybody across the board with respect. So respect goes a long way. That's going to get you far in the facility here and a career. Once you gain respect of the inmates, staff, your admin staff, people are going to notice that you can enter a hostile situation and be able to de-escalate versus bring it to the next level of force.
So I want to thank Captain Ferreira for being here to talk about his experience in his process or his pathway to becoming part of the tactical team, and also what the tactical team does. So I want to talk a little bit about officer skills and what skills make a good correctional officer. So the largest group of people that come into our facility as officers tend to come from different career pathways or different areas of life with different life experiences. And these different life experiences help bring with each officer a new skill set. So if you work with machinery or some type of manufacturing, you may have experience dealing with safety protocols for equipment, so making sure that you're using it safely to limit the risk of there being accidents or someone getting hurt, but also you're monitoring your teammates or other coworkers to make sure, similarly, they're not missing any big safety protocols. Maybe you're inventorying tools and equipment every day to make sure there's nothing missing and everything's accounted for. Maybe you work in the service industry where you're communicating with different people every day, so you have to learn to adapt to different personalities so you can connect with them and be able to function and do your job. So here to talk about skills that are relevant for a correctional officer to have or important for a correctional officer to have is Major Paul Almeida.
Hi, my name is Paul Almeida. I am an Administrative Deputy Superintendent at the Bristol County Sheriff's Office, currently at the Ash Street facility. I've been employed here for 25 years. One skill I feel is important to have as a correctional officer, and it can serve you through your entire career, whether dealing with inmates or other staff members, supervisors, subordinates, whatever might be going on, civilian population at times, would be communication. It's very important to learn communication skills in different ways. Some of the ways, through your coworkers, you'll see someone that has 10 years experience, 5 years, 20 years, whatever that might be. And what you'll see is they have a certain way they conduct themselves, whether they communicate physically with their bodies, in their demeanor, or with their speech and how they speak to inmates. So it's very important that as you take this job and you work your way through this field, that you kind of learn different techniques and when to apply those techniques in what situations to do so. Another thing that I find is very important in this field is having what we refer to as situational awareness. You'll hear jokes made once you come into an academy and say, hey, when you go to a restaurant or you go here, there, wherever else may be, you sit in a certain seat so you can see what's going on around you. Most people never have to worry about things like that, nor do they think about that. And then you find yourself through training in the academy and working again with the senior staff that they teach you about how to be in dangerous areas and dangerous situations as safely as you can. And that could mean how you enter a cell for a cell inspection. Are you going to turn your back to the people? Are you going to make sure your eyes are on the people in front of you? So there's a lot of things that if you play the what if game when nothing's going on that requires your full focus and attention, it can help prepare you for things when they do actually happen.
So again, I want to thank Major Almeida for being here to talk about correctional officer skills. So I also want to talk about the Correctional Officer Academy. We get a lot of questions about the academy itself. So here are some topics that might be covered or will be covered during Correctional Officer Academy. So we're going to teach you CPR and first responder skills. So we have a large number of medical emergencies. So when an inmate does experience a medical emergency due to either pre-existing health conditions or maybe drug dependency or alcohol dependency issues, or just an emergency situation in general, you'll have the skills to react, to be able to intervene, render that emergency care until a higher level care can arrive. You'll also be taught suicide prevention techniques and be taught the different risk factors for suicide so you can identify them and intervene when necessary. You'll be given communication skills. You'll be taught active listening skills. You will be taught how to communicate using our phone and radio system, as well as how to write a report that those legal documents that can be used in court. You'll be taught how to collect evidence. So when a situation does happen, when there is a crime, you are able to properly collect that evidence so that can be used by investigators and potentially used in court. And also, we're going to teach you defensive tactics. So you are able to protect yourself, your coworkers, or other inmates if there is ever a dangerous situation. So here to talk about a little bit more about the Correctional Officer Academy is the director of the Training Academy, Captain Robert Matos.
Hi, my name is Captain Robert Matos. I am the training director for Bristol County Sheriff's Office. I currently oversee all the training for the department and the academies. So what to expect as a recruit coming into our academies. The academies are designed to build stress into the academy to see how the recruits handle stress. And the reason for that is because we don't want a recruit to go inside after you graduate the academy to encounter stress for the first time and not know how to handle it. So we induce stress to see how they handle the stress during the academy in a safe environment. Also, part of the academy requirements is academic work. You are going to be given subject matters throughout the 10-week classes, 10 weeks of the academy. At each week, we'll do a weekly test on the subject matters that we covered a week previously. So every Monday morning you come in, you'll be given a test. And based on the questions you're asked, you're going to be some are true or false, multiple choice, some are fill in the blank. Part of the academy also is physical activity. We do PT training. You are required to participate in 40 hours of PT during the academy. There's not a pass or fail on it. What we're looking for is a steady improvement from the day you came in, day one, to the day you graduate the academy, that you doing the physical activities that we ask. What are the requirements are? You'll be asked to do push-ups, sit-ups, run a mile and a half. We'll break it up throughout the academy with some circuit training, doing different exercises, so we're not doing the same thing all the time, but you are going to be required to do PT. Now that we do team building exercises also throughout the academy. Another big week for you will be use of force week, which is we cover our use of force, and that you get very hands-on on how to apply the techniques that we showed you throughout the week. And that's pretty much your rundown of an academy of 10 weeks for a correctional academy. So what we're looking for out of a recruit in the academy is that they're striving to work as a team, because in corrections, you rely on your partner. So we want to make sure we have that team building coming out of the academy. So recruits, when they go in, they're accustomed to working with one another, and they have that each other back, and that they're getting the foundation on how to apply what we teach in the academy from policies and what the laws are today for the correctional side.
So again, I want to thank Captain Matos for going over some of the expectations and what will be going on during the academy itself. If you have more questions about the academy, I'll be sure to be willing to answer them at the end. But also, we have a video from one of our recent academies. It's about 10 minutes long. You can find it on our YouTube channel. And there's also a link to it under our recruitment page on our website. So the training academy itself is about 10 weeks long currently. We're always looking to add more training, so it could be a little bit longer. But right now it's about 10 weeks. It's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. with weekends and holidays off while you're in the academy. Now, there may be some days where you'd be required to work an evening shift with your academy mates to see how different shifts operate, but for the most part, it's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You get paid during the entire academy. So you will get your starting correctional officer pay right at the beginning of the academy. There's no lesser pay rate. You're not paid minimum wage or anything like that. You get your starting correctional officer pay right at the beginning of the academy. Also, we will provide for you all of your uniforms and equipment to be a correctional officer once you graduate from the academy. But you would be responsible for all the items that you need for the academy itself. You will be responsible to get those on your own. And the academy is located in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, at our main complex in our training building. And it is not a residential academy, so you don't sleep here. You don't stay overnight like you do in some, like the State Police Academy. You will go home every evening. So let's talk about a little bit about reasons why you'd want to work at the sheriff's office. So one main reason people like to work at the sheriff's office is that we're local. So we're a large facility with a lot of career movement opportunities, but we're not located halfway across the state. We're located in your community here in Bristol County. Job stability is certainly an important thing for everyone nowadays. And there's many people that have their own business and maybe they're successful, but they're just tired of the uncertainty that the economy might bring. They're tired of having to chase clients for money. And so the job stability that comes with being a state employee is certainly an attractive benefit to many people that start a career here as a correctional officer. Also starting a career in law enforcement. So many people come here at the sheriff's office as a correctional officer at 19 because they have intentions of moving on maybe to another department as a police officer or a state police officer. And they start their careers here with us, but they end up staying because they like the environment, they like their coworkers, they like all the opportunities that are available to them. So we certainly like to tell people you can begin your career here with us at the sheriff's office. And of course, the benefits and compensation are a prime reason why many people decide to start working here. So of course, with the benefits, we offer competitive pay to many state employees or public safety agencies in the state. We have access to the state pension system. So as a state employee, you have that secure access to the state pension system. We also offer state health insurance benefits, so you can pick a plan that's best for you and your family. We offer different kinds of bonuses, such as longevity bonuses. You're given a uniform allowance every year, as well as a sick time bonus. You can earn vacation, holiday, and personal time. To start out, I believe total is about 3 or 4 weeks to start, I believe. But maxed out is about 7 weeks of time a year. As a state employee, you have access to the different tuition remission programs available. You can earn 10 hours of sick leave every month. So that gives you the confidence once you build that sick time up, where if you are ill or you have a dependent that is ill, you are able to take the necessary time off to heal up and able to come back to work. And also we have a 20-year retirement. So in Massachusetts, judges, state troopers, and correctional officers are able to retire 20 years after their start date, regardless of their age, and collect their pension regardless of their age. So for example, I started when I was 19 years old. I am eligible to retire this year at 39, collecting 50% of my gross, and I can collect that immediately along with my health insurance. I don't have to wait to be a certain age to start collecting. And also overtime is a benefit. So overtime is a way for you to make additional money on top of your base pay. You get paid time and a half for every additional shift that you work. So it's time and a half your hourly rate. And so that allows you to have that freedom and flexibility to earn more money when you need it. So you're not adapting your life to your pay scale. You can adapt your pay to your life. So whatever your lifestyle requires of you, if you have a family to support or you enjoy going on vacations or you need to purchase a new vehicle, you are able to have access to overtime shifts to make that additional money when you need it. So this is a copy of an article. It's just a snippet of an article from the Herald News, just saying that in 2022, correctional officers earned almost $2 million in overtime. And of course, we currently have a $5,000 hiring bonus at the time of this recording. That is paid out to you in your first year of employment in 2 payments, and there is no contract to sign in order to be eligible for that $5,000 bonus. So I want to talk a little bit about our department culture a little bit. So there's no way around it. Corrections can be a very dangerous and stressful job as being a correctional officer. So one of the things we've done to offset that is to create a stress unit. So this unit is a group of staff members, correctional officers, and civilian staff who are specially trained or given additional training, and they are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via a hotline to any staff member who needs assistance, access to programs, or just needs someone to listen to them. So this is part of our ongoing commitment to our staff that doesn't end at the end of their shift. We also formed a Veterans Committee. This is a committee of staff members who served in the military, and the committee is only made up of staff members who served in the military. And they are there to advocate on behalf of the other staff members who served. They're also there to facilitate deployments, drill scheduling, and activations. And they are also there to help connect with veterans in the community who may be interested in career pathways here at the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff has also brought back service awards, so we are able to recognize our staff members who go above and beyond the call of duty. And we brought back promotional ceremonies. So this is a way for us to mutually celebrate these career achievements and milestones, and they're able to do so as well, along with their family and friends. So what are the job requirements? So if you're interested in joining our team as a correctional officer, what are the job requirements? So the minimum requirements to apply are that you have to be at least 19 years of age. You have to have a high school diploma or an equivalency. You need a valid driver's license. If you live in Massachusetts, obviously Massachusetts driver's license. If you live in Rhode Island, you do not have to move to Massachusetts to work here. There's no residency requirement, and your Rhode Island driver's license would be fine. Now, if you are planning on relocating to the area to work with us, or you're relocating and you're exploring career opportunities, just know that you need to be able to get a driver's license in the state that you're moving to. And you need U.S. citizenship in order to apply to be a correctional officer. Permanent status, work visas, and green cards are not accepted. You do need to be a U.S. citizen to be a correctional officer here with us. So now, what's the hiring process? If you've decided you want to move on to be a correctional officer, you want to try this career pathway, the first thing is to fill out an application. The easiest way to do that is to do it online. You can find a link to the online application at our recruitment page, which you see up here. Also, you can find the online application by going to our main website, going to employment, and if you scroll down past the job postings, you'll see a link to our online application. Also, if you prefer to do a paper application, you can find those Monday through Friday during normal business hours at our main facility. After the application, we're going to screen it to make sure you meet the minimum criteria. We're also going to check to make sure you have no criminal activity we should be aware of. And then we would schedule you for an interview. These are panel-style interviews with 3 of our senior staff members who are going to ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better. They'll also ask you some skill-based questions and some scenario questions. Now, again, this is an entry-level position, so these scenario questions, we just want to see how you would react in these situations using good judgment and common sense. After that, we'll begin your background check. That can take a few weeks. It's just due to the nature of the process. If you make it through the background check, we will schedule you for a medical screening. That's done at St. Luke's Hospital with a medical provider. There is no cost to you during any part of this hiring process. And then we would do a drug test as well. So that drug test is done at our main facility here in Dartmouth. And then finally, after that, hopefully we can give you the job offer. That means we would invite you to join our next Correctional Officer Academy. So the time of this recording, our next academy is slated to begin in September for our fall academy. So once you make it through these steps, they would tell you you're going to be invited to the academy. And then about a month beforehand, we have you come in for the formal job offer where you would sign your employment paperwork and meet with the academy staff who will go over expectations and tell you what you're going to need for the academy and where you're going to need to be on day 1. So that's it for today's presentation. Hopefully I've answered a lot of your questions about the hiring process and the different career pathways available to you here as a correctional officer. So that's my information up there on the screen. If you need to email me, you can do so at that email address. That hotline is also a way you can get in touch with me. Feel free to check out our recruitment page, which you can get to from the address on the screen there, as well as the QR code on the screen. Now I'm going to put this information back up on the screen after the live Q&A, but I want to make sure I'm mindful of your time, so we're going to move on to the live Q&A portion of today's presentation. I'm going to go over the Sheriff's Office tattoo policy. I do get a lot of questions about tattoos. We do allow you to have tattoos. They have to be professional, and they have to be something that doesn't violate security or is a threat to security. So, for example, common sense, you can't have any racist tattoos or anything gang-related. Also, it has to be professional in appearance. So facial tattoos, it's kind of hard to maintain that professional appearance when you have facial tattoos. But we have had officers that have had tattoos on like the back of their necks, maybe on the tops of their hands. And that tattoo in itself isn't a disqualifier. But again, we do ask that they be professional. So if you have questions about specific tattoos, you can always reach out to me and we can discuss that. What shift and days off will you be assigned? So in the academy itself, again, you're 8 to 4. But after the academy, you would be assigned to our day shift, which is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you would be on that shift for about 3 months for on-the-job training. After that, you'd be rotated to our different shifts so you can see how all the other shifts work. After about a year, your probationary period would end, and then you would initially be assigned shift and days off based on the needs of the facility. but you would have the opportunity to bid to different shifts or days off at your preference. And those are awarded by seniority. So the longer you're here, the more opportunities you have for better shifts and days off. Does the jail and House of Correction house only male inmates, and are there opportunities for female officers? So we house both male and female inmates. We obviously have a lot more male inmates than we do female inmates, but that doesn't hinder any advancement opportunities for female officers. We have had female lieutenants, sergeants, captains. We currently have a female lieutenant assigned to our tactical team. We have female investigators. We've had a female canine officer. So there's no restriction to female officers in terms of career movement. How long until you can try to get promoted? I can tell you from experience, it tends to be at least 2 years, but we don't post these promotional opportunities. At least we usually don't post them with a minimum requirement for time in. Now that could change. We could change our practice and put a minimum requirement for time, but just recently we haven't been doing that. Your first year, you're learning how to do the job. You're a probationary officer. So that's when you're going to make your mistakes. You're going to get acclimated to the job. You're going to learn how to do the job. And then after that is when we're going to want to see you perform as an officer. So 2 years tends to be what I tell people. But we also just promoted someone to lieutenant who had less than 2 years on, and but they also had a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. How dangerous is the job? So there's no way around it. This is a very dangerous job. This can be a very dangerous work environment. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and make it sound less than that. To do that would be insulting and disrespectful to the officers who work in our facility every day, putting their lives on the line. However, that's why we get the benefits that we have. And that's the trade-off to that danger is the benefits, that 20-year retirement, the pay, the health insurance. All that is to offset that danger. Now, like any job that has danger, there are ways you can lessen the risk, but there's no way to completely eliminate it. So learning how to do the job, paying attention in the academy, learning from your fellow staff, learning how to effectively communicate with the inmate population, that will help you lessen the potential danger, but there's no way to completely eliminate it. What's the difference between a deputy sheriff and a correctional officer? So the correctional officers go through our in-house training academy. They're sworn peace officers. They're sworn to uphold all the laws inside the facility itself, as well as our facility rules, but they are not police officers. We don't have power of arrest as correctional officers. Now, deputy sheriffs go through a police academy, so they do have that power of arrest. So some staff members that are deputy sheriffs would be our civil process division. Those are deputy sheriffs that serve paperwork around the community. Some of our investigators that started as correctional officers were able to go through the police academy afterwards when they became an investigator. They had that opportunity. And some of our canine officers, even though they started as correctional officers, they were able to go through that police academy, so they do have power of arrest. So I'm going to go through now. I'm going to answer the questions you've already sent to me. So let's see here. So I have had questions about the background check and about your criminal background, or if you have, let's say you made a mistake when you were younger. We've certainly had people that have applied for correctional officer positions here that made mistakes 10, 20 years ago. I can't tell you a blanket yes or no. Obviously, we prefer you to have a clean criminal background. That goes without saying. But I'm not going to lie and say that we haven't had people that made a mistake 10, 20 years ago, whatever it may be, and we were able to give them an opportunity here. But that's a rarity. It's not like every person coming in here has that criminal background, and it depends on the circumstances and the situation. So I can't give you a flat out yes or no, but I can tell you we do prefer that you have a clean criminal background, and it certainly makes that background check process much easier. I was asked here about someone that has an MBA, about different opportunities, also for military service. So again, this is an entry-level position, so a college degree is not required, but the sheriff who's a Harvard graduate does like to show an inherent value for your college education. So if you graduated with a degree from a relevant field of study, so it has to be something related to law enforcement, criminal justice. It can't be a degree in history, for example, that wouldn't be applicable. But if you have a degree like that, we would accelerate your pay when you graduate the academy to show a value for that education that you received. We also do that for military service. So if you have a certain amount of military service, we will also accelerate your pay once you graduate from the academy. So if anyone has any more questions about the specifics on how that works, you're welcome to email me or contact me. I'd be happy to walk you through that and answer those questions. So what's the graduation rate of the academy? So any job that has an academy style or is a public safety job, there tends to be attrition in that academy. You see that in the military, you'll see that in police academies, fire academies, you'll see it in correctional officer academies. So there's always going to be people that are going to start the academy and decide that this isn't for them. And that's perfectly fine. This is not the job for everyone. It's a good opportunity for those that are able to make this a career pathway, myself, for example. But this is not the job for everyone. And I'm going to acknowledge that right up front. So we do have some people that decide at the beginning of the academy they don't like it. There's been people that haven't been able to make it through the training that have been dismissed from the academy. But we do tend to graduate a high level of applicants that start the academy. So I don't know the specific rate off the top of my head, but most people that go into the academy graduate. We're graduating well over 50% of our applicants into the academy. So it's a high graduation rate. I don't have that number in front of me, but we do graduate a lot of people from these academies. All right, so I'm going to talk about the hours, and then I'm going to get to any kind of the last question I just received. So the hours. So we have 3 shifts. We have our day shift, which is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then we have our evening shift, which is 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then our night shift, which is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So our day shift, which is at 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., that tends to be very attractive for a lot of people because it's more normal working hours, obviously. But also it's a very busy shift. There's a lot of activity. That's when all the inmates are going to court, coming back from court. We feed them breakfast, lunch. They see mental health clinicians, programs, education, social workers. There's a lot going on. So it's a very busy shift. Our evening shift tends to be a lot less of that activity because all those staff members have left for the day. All the civilian staff members leave around 4. So that activity level drops. So it's just correctional officer and our medical staff on duty in the evenings. And also we pay you a shift differential. So you get paid more to work those evening shifts. Also, there might be a situation where you're able to get better days off. So maybe days off mean more to you than the shift itself. Myself, that was a situation with me. I was able to get a weekend shift on the evening shift, and I wanted to make sure I had certain days off, so I worked the evening hours. So that's a trade-off as well, where you might want to work the evening shift. The night shift, obviously the activity level is much, much lower because hopefully everyone's sleeping at that time for the most part. You will also pay you more for a shift differential for working that night shift. And again, you might be able to get better days off. It works for some people with childcare too. I certainly have heard a lot of people work the night shift because that just works for them. Their significant other works during the day, so that works perfectly for childcare. And again, we pay you more to work that shift. So it's a trade-off. It's important to pick a shift that works best for you. And obviously, the longer you're here, the more opportunities you get to bid on a shift that you would like. Starting out, I would expect that most people starting out, once they're done with their probationary period, would be assigned a night or evening shift to start. And again, opportunities may come up for you to go to the day shift, but I would anticipate, I want you to expect to work the evening or night shift to start. That's not a guarantee, but I don't want to mislead you and think that you're going to be working the day shift 2 years into the job. Probably not likely, but again, you're able to bid on whatever shift you want. We do not have an entrance exam. So we don't have an entrance exam. We don't have a PT test as part of our application process. The first thing for you to do is to fill out that online application, and then we're going to start the screening process from there. So we set our standard for all of our officers in the academy. So you're going to need to graduate from the academy passing all of your tests. So to have an entrance exam at this point for us, for our agency, we kind of look at it as that's a test to be able to take a test. We set all of our standards in the academy. We don't hire anyone as an officer. We don't bring them online as an officer if you're not able to pass our academy with those minimum test scores. Let's see, if I get hired, should I have to come to Dartmouth, or do you have other facilities across Bristol County? So we only have 2 facilities. Our main campus is in Dartmouth. The other facility we have is the Ash Street Jail, which is located in New Bedford. So those are the only two facilities that we have in Bristol County. Those are the only two correctional facilities. The Ash Street Jail is only about 5 minutes from Dartmouth. So if you're commuting from a different part of the county that's farther away, it's not going to really save you much time. And you would have to, again, bid on that facility. So if you wanted to work there, they would post a shift or days off at Ash Street, and you would have to bid to go to that facility. But part of your shadowing process and on-the-job training would allow you to go to Ash Street so you can see how that facility works. Let's see. So I don't see any more questions. So if anyone has any more questions, you're welcome to ask them now. If there's something that you prefer to ask in private or you just want to discuss with me on the phone, feel free to give me a call. I'll be around in my office for a little bit longer. So if you have those questions, feel free to call me. So I'm going to put back up on the screen so everyone has the opportunity to look at it. My contact information. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me. But I want to thank you all for being here today. Hopefully I've answered a lot of your questions, or at least most of your questions, giving you some insight into what it's like to be a correctional officer. So again, thank you all for being here, and hopefully you apply and decide to join us here at the Sheriff's Office. Thank you again.